I'm gonna talk about their ecosystem and then go inside because it's more about who else around you could help you, but rather than me here. But for the sake of here, I'll do that. But be around people who are kind of different from you in the sense that they seem like they're self-aware. They seem not that they have things on a handle, but it seems like when things happen to them, you're sitting there asking them, "How can you be so calm?" Dig into that, talk, have that conversation. Like if it comes up to you, it's like, are you seeing someone? Are you talking to someone? Do you go to therapy? Maybe they have, and then that conversation with your friend with that emotional connection is gonna help
Mhm.
you lock that in. Your brain is gonna sew that in, tie a knot way harder than me. But usually what I do is start with the conversation of being more open. Um, that's all from what I learned, all therapy truly is. I think you said it before. It's someone holding up a mirror to
Mhm.
you and saying, "This is you. This is what you're doing. When we trace this back to childhood, this happened, this happened, this happened. Let's move forward. This is kind of why you're doing that. Here's the connection. Let's figure out a solution."
Mhm.
And that has to start with you being more open about what happened during that childhood. Can you do that? Where does that start? With self. It's all self accountability is what really therapy is. So can you talk to yourself first? Can you physically go in the mirror and look at me and say, "That happened. How about we talk about it?" One thing that helps me personally, I can say about my personal account in this session is both my therapists, they told me that I need to have this conversation with my father. And they said, if you can't have it with him, then you need to have it in your head. Imagine him and just start talking.
Mhm.
Or you need to write it down.
Oh
All
yeah.
that says is you need to get it out. That's basically what
Correct.
I'm saying. I'm kind of talking around it. Get it out. It's poisoning you. That poison you're holding inside, hoping that someone else will feel it, you're just hurting yourself. You're killing yourself, essentially. So start from within, be honest with yourself, start talking. I don't know if you worry about whether you're gonna be crazy or not. It doesn't matter. What matters is,
Mhm.
are you gonna be healthier? What really matters? Do you want to be a better human being? Ask yourself that also.
No,
Um,
100%, 100%, man.
yeah.
I,
And then starting from there, it'll help easier for you to have the conversation about therapy for anyone or go seeking it because you have to do the work.
yes. We can underline that 5 times under, put 50,000 exclamation marks under the last part. And I agree with the being open and really being comfortable to share and be vulnerable. To me, that's one of the hardest parts. I found with people, just being extremely guarded. And like you said, when you see the childhoods we come from, sometimes you get it. Why you're so guarded? You probably needed to be, but to recognize some of the effects it's been having on us, that's when you got to look in that mirror and realize, like, okay. And I think, Trav, I think you might remember this because I remember hearing this in school. Um, like those things that you did then, they might have helped you deal with and navigate and traverse the environments that you grew up in, right? That probably were largely unhealthy, but you're
Mhm.
not in that environment anywhere. So, but you're still utilizing those skills and tools that were somewhat functional, we could say, but they're no longer here. And you got to change that. You got to be willing to recognize the difference between these two situations and make those adjustments in your life so that you're no longer keeping all those things in. And I love the last thing that you said. I would just call that basically externalizing. You got to externalize
Mhm.
your feelings. I'm a big
Mhm.
believer in journaling. I ask every single client I have ever to journal because it forces you to introspectively look on your life and learn to reflect on what you're experiencing in real time. Because a lot of times we minimize what we experience.
Mhm.
Be like, oh, it wasn't that bad, or I was really pissed off that day, but then I'm thinking about it 5 days later, and of course, the level of intensity emotionally is minuscule. No, I need you to capture it in that moment. I want to talk about what happened then and how intense it was for you, so we can try to draw the connection and connect those dots. What did it mean? But if we're not capturing those snapshots, it can be relatively difficult to do that, particularly if you're meeting even in like a weekly frequency, it can
Mhm.
be difficult to be able to capture that. So yes, getting it outside of you, however you need to do that, talk to yourself. I have some people, do a voice memo. You can record
Yeah.
yourself, however you need to do it, but talk it out And one other thing I wanted to touch that you said, Isaiah, because I personally had to do this, full transparency. I had to role play talking to my father in therapy because like, we weren't talking. And I remember my therapist had me, it was two chairs. She prefaced me before, like 2 sessions prior. She's like, but we're going to do this because you need to. She set up the two chairs. I had to sit in the one chair. That was me being my dad. And I sat in my chair, and that was me being me. She's like, you know him pretty well, right? So say what he would say to you. And I just, tore myself down and beat myself up because that was my lived experience. And as uncomfortable and emotionally draining as that was, I genuinely felt better afterwards, even not communicating with that person because I was finally letting all that stuff out and not allowing it to just keep choking me from the inside. So I really love that part that you mentioned. And I hope anybody that might be experiencing that, even if you don't talk to somebody immediately, at least consider finding a way to get it outside of you. That's a great first step. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Travis.
No, I agree wholeheartedly. Is I always, if I ever get on a soapbox, it'll be about journaling because that's something that I'm passionate about too. I think every therapist is journal. But I always, when I talk about it, I always talk about journaling is not just writing something down.
Mm-hmm.
If you write music, you are journaling. If you do poetry, you can journal through poetry. Journaling
Mm-hmm.
can be affirmations that you put on your wall and that you're reciting over and over again. Journaling is not just documenting through, hey, on July the 16th, I woke up. I had a great day. It's not just that. It's just getting
Right.
out your feelings and expressing those thoughts and getting them outside of you. When people ask me what's the magic of therapy, I'm like, the magic of therapy is having a safe environment for you to be authentically you and to say it without any thought around the consequences, the feelings, anything associated with what you're saying. To be
Mm-hmm.
amongst another human being and the power of just saying, I'm going to say this and I don't have to worry about consequences. I don't have to navigate your feelings. I don't have to navigate your perspective on it. I'm just going to say it, and I can sit in it, and we can sit in it together. It's powerful. If you, like
Yeah.
you said, like both of you guys said, if you can't do that, find another way to do it. If that is, using your phone and voice memoing, as you said, or utilizing other resources, but getting it out is powerful. That's the crucial part of it. Releasing it, letting it go, and being able to look at it outside of yourself is always helpful because you have to look at it outside of yourself sometimes. It's hard when we're in these bodies to perceive it in a healthy way. But if I can take it outside of me and go, oh, this is what this looks like.
Yeah.
Oh, I can give advice to it now. I can speak to it.
Correct. Correct, man. See, and there you go. That's exactly the conclusion. Most of my clients, that's when they get shocked. We look at it as like, oh man, that's why you had me do that. Like, yeah, because number one, I got to say this last little thing on journaling because this is my soapbox, and I'm very proud to say it. None of us are mind readers, so I don't know what you're thinking, and I definitely don't know what you've been going through and how you've been feeling. So to me, journaling is the greatest tool for me to learn your perspective and your outlook on life, how you see things in real time. You have to give me that so I can experience it long enough to be like, oh, okay, I'm getting a sense of why you started to react that way. But I'm not just going to be able to pull that from nowhere. I got to see how you normally deal with those situations from you externalizing it via you sharing it with me directly, self-reporting. You wrote it in an app, you put it on a pen and paper, you voice recorded it, you filmed yourself on TikTok or Snapchat, whatever you did. I need that because it helps. Because then, yes, as you said, Travis, and that to me was the best thing you just said there. You can sort of start to objectively look at it. Oh, I had this. Okay, so these bubble of emotions happen in this particular situation. What would I tell that person? Maybe I have some good insight, and then say, "Hey, but that was you. You thought of that thing. So now take the same guidance you just gave to that person. Now do it, and you fixed your issue, right?" So to me, that's the power of doing that. So I don't know if every therapist does that, but to me it is a standard practice. Like if you work with me, you got to do it. You have to do it. And I hope that more people, even if you're not working with a therapist right now or any professional, to please consider doing that because it might help you just gain awareness introspectively into some of the things that you might be dealing with because it would allow you to, what I would say, stand beside yourself and start to consider another viewpoint.